Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to be talking about the Delphi murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty, Germany. There were two girls that were found murdered on February 14th of 2017, yes, on Valentine's Day. Abigail Williams was born on June 23rd, 2003, and Liberty German was born on December 27th, 2002. They both died on February 13th of 2017. They were both on Monon High Bridge Trail, which is the bridge that's behind me in the picture. It was part of the Delphi Historical Trail of Delphi, Indiana. After the young girls had disappeared from the same trail. The previous days, the murders, it made a lot of media coverage. There was a video that was posted from Libby's smartphone of who might have been the suspect who actually murdered these young women. They had dozens and dozens of tips that came through, but there was never any final never was any final suspect that was brought to justice for their murders. Okay, so I'm going to be reading periodically throughout my notes of what had transpired, because there's a lot of information and I want to make sure I get everything correct for you guys. So I'll just give you a little bit of the backstory of who the girls were when they were born. Abigail went by Abby and Liberty went by Libby. So at 1:35 p.m. on Monday, February 13, 2017, 13-year-old Abby and 14-year-old Libby were dropped off by Libby's sister, Kelsey, on Country Road 300 North, east of Hoosier Heartland Highway. The girls were hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek among woodland and remoted Deer Creek Township. So apparently it was a nice winter day for them to go out hiking. At 2:07 p.m., Libby posted a photo of Abby walking the bridge. After this, they were not heard from again. So this bridge right here behind me is the bridge that Libby took a picture of Abby on. And that was the last time they were noticed or even saw by anybody or even heard from on social media. They were reported missing at 5:30 p.m. after they failed to meet up with Libby's father at 3:15 p.m. So he gave them a little longer, expecting maybe they were just having fun on their hiking trail and having some fun, maybe just hanging out with each other. So he gave them maybe a little extra time, to contact them, like most parents would. The families intensively searched for the girls themselves before calling the police. Authorities who quickly searched the area did not intentionally suspect foul play in the disappearance at first. I mean, normally they're teenage girls, maybe they met up with a boy and they were hanging out with them and didn't want, Libby's family to know that's what they were doing. So they thought, well, maybe I can get a little extra time in, and I just called my dad later and told him, I lost track of time. Normal teenage girl stuff. However, this changed when when the bodies of the girls were found around noon the next day, about 0.5 miles east from the abandoned Monon High Bridge. The bodies were found on the north bank of Deer Creek. So, half a mile from this bridge right here at Deer Creek is where the bodies of these two young girls were found. Police had not released details of the girls. The girls were did not release details that the girls were murdered. As early as February 15, 2017, Indiana State Police began circulating a still image of an individual reported to be seen on Monon High Bridge Trail, near where the two friends were slain. The grainy photo appears to capture a Caucasian male, hands in pocket, walking on a rail bridge, heading down towards the girls. A few days later, a person in the photograph was named as the prime suspect on the double homicide. So they named a suspect, but they have no idea who this guy is still. On February 22nd, law enforcement released an audio recording where the voice of the suspect, though in the same degree muffled, is heard saying, "Down the hill." It was at this news conference that the officials created the source off the audio and imagery from German smartphone, and further regarding her as a hero for having had the presence of mind and fortune of security recording the exchange. So, if it wasn't for Libby taking that photo and recording her friend and everything else, they would never have had an image of this guy or even a possible voice of who the killer could be. I mean, that took a lot of courage right there, I know myself, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. Police indicated that the additional evidence from the phone had been secured, but that they did not release it so as not to compromise any future trial. So they didn't want to release it, and then people would be like, oh, well, this was released in the media, and then they can't use it in court if it ended up going to court. By this time, the reward offered in the case was set at $41,000. On July 17th, officers distributed a composing sketch of someone who, at that time in the investigation, was thought as the person of prime interest in the murders. It had apparently been drawn by police from eyewitnesses to a certain hiker of the Delphi Historic Trails on the day that the girls vanished. On April 19th, 2019, Indiana State Police announced a new direction in the case on behalf of the state police and the multi-agency task force. Excuse me. Superintendent Doug Carter released more materials, and a few days later, in a press conference held on April 22nd, The news material included a short video recording in which the blue-jeaned and jacketed suspect is seen walking along the rail bridge for a little over a second. Suspect Superintendent Carter stated that because of the distorted contents of the bridge, the suspect is not walking naturally due to a spacing between the ties. So, if you look at this picture behind me right here, you're going to see how the bridge has got gaps in between it. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about the spacing between the ties. The ties are going to be these right here, these spaces in between these boards. That's what they're talking about in that. An updated sketch of the suspect was also unveiled, as well as an extended version of the audio recording, in which a slight release in the suspect's voice can be detected, in which a slight raise in the suspect's voice can be detected as he uttered the words "guys" before the phrase "down the hill." It was further explained that the previous release sketch showing an older man with a goatee and a cap is now considered secondary. By contrast, the clean-shaven individual of the newly revised composite in the primary sketch of the prime suspect. Police say that his youthful appearance could make himself look younger than his age. Investigators revealed they have reason to believe that the suspect might well be hiding in plain sight, and that the person is almost certain familiar with the area of Delphi, whether it be from living or working there or for other reasons. An additional vehicle left abandoned off the Hoosier Heartland Highway in Delphia at the former Child Services office between noon and 5 p.m. on the day of the murders. On July 23, 2019, Paul Ether was wanted for kidnapping and rape of the 26-year-old woman on June 22nd in, excuse me if I slash this, people, but I'm sorry, Chappaqua County. Either was one of multiple suspects being investigated for the Williams and German murders. According to Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lindsay, 5 days earlier, on July 28, 2019, Either was surrounded by police, and after a 5-hour standoff, he died by suicide. Investigators received a tip about Either eater in the Delphi murders, but it was unclear if or when authorities could be able to determine if he was the killer. So, I mean, he's kind of got the grounds to do it, right? I mean, but you'll never know if he did it because he died by suicide by cop. Daniel J. Nation, a registered sex offender from India, was arrested in Woodland Park, Colorado on September 2017 and charged with threatening strangers on Monument Trail with a hatchet. The expired Indiana plates of his car Nation was driving was noticed by police, who subsequently discovered an outstanding warrant under his name, banning public suspicion still further. It was reported that a bicyclist had been fatally shot on the same trail at around the time that Nation was purportedly testifying passerbyers. Guys, if you hear that banging in the background, it's just my neighbors. An El Paso County Sheriff's spokesman told reporters that, however many similarities there were between the cases, he was not at liberty to discuss them since Indiana investigators did not want any more information released. On January 5th, 2018, Nation was sentenced to 3 years of probation for threatening members of the public of Colorado. However, he was not released since he had an active warrant out on him back in Indiana. On January 24th, Nation was transferred to Indiana officials' custody on an unrelated charge, failure to register as a sex offender. It's improbable cause too, right? In early February 2018, authorities say that Nation was no longer considered an active person of interest in the Delphi murders. How can you rule that out unless you did some like DNA or something? Thomas Bruce, who was formerly worked as a pastor, is charged with fatally shooting one woman and sexually assaulting 2 others after having ordered them at gunpoint into a back room of a suburban St. Louis shop for religious supplies, committed in broad daylight on November 19, 2018. These crimes have been a similar structure, 5'7" to 5'9" to the then current suspect description in the Delphi slayings. Also, he's wearing a flat cap, a navy blue jacket during this attack. Not unlike the suspect in the Delphi case, Indiana State Police did look into his possible connections in November. On December 4th, Bruce was charged with no fewer than 17 felony counts related to the St. Louis case. He was sentenced to a life without parole. Charles Edger, which now we're I think on like the fourth suspect, was arrested on January 8th, 2019 in Union City, Indiana on charges of child molestation and child solicitation. Police in Randolph County alerted the FBI to a potential link between Edger's and Delphi murders on the account of his strong resemblance of the suspect's sketch. This was, however, before an updated composite had been released. On April 27th, 2001, so last year, Indiana State Police detective named James Brian Chadwell II as a new person of interest in the Delphina murders. So there's like 5 persons. On December 6, 2021, at approximately 9:50 p.m., Sergeant Jeremy Pryor's public information officer with Indiana State Police announced the discovery of excuse me, Fluctuations Online Personnel Authority Anthony Schatz. Sergeant Peters, sorry, not Peters, Sergeant Pyers said this profile has been uncovered during the case of investigations into the murders and was believed to have been used in 2016 to 2017. The press release said that they were asking for anyone who had social media contact with a user by the name between 2016 and 2017 to untitledize the Abby and Libby tip line. A day or two later, ISP released an additional statement related to this profile and confirmed that the account is legal to have belonged to a 27-year-old man named Keegan Anthony Klein of Peru, Indiana. At the time of the press release, Klein, how do you pronounce that, was being held in Miami County Jail for 30 alleged crimes, including child... Okay, before I continue, guys, major warning right here. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty horrible on children. So if you want to skip forward a little bit, please. I understand. I mean, some people can't handle some of this stuff, and it's kind of hard to read myself. Child exploitation, possession of child pornography, and child soliciting for sexual intercourse and obstruction. Of justice. Klein set up the fake social media accounts in which he used photos of an unknown male model to catfish potential underage victims. Seriously? It's just disgusting. Kelsey German, Libby's sister, said that Klein being a potential suspect, I think in the past, when there were names put out in the media, that was more than the media putting them out there. But I think this is the first time we have ever seen police put out any sort of names about potential suspects. German also said that she long believed that social media did not have anything to do with the case, but said that she now reconsidered things, saying, "Libby never told me, think, even if she had told us, or if we would have said something, then she had likely kept messaging anyways, because teenagers like to hide stuff or things." Unfortunately, it's true. I remember being a young girl at one time and hiding love letters, and we didn't have social media back when I was younger in high school, but we write letters and take pictures, and we would hide them from our families, and we would be kind of didn't want our dads or our moms to know that, hey, we're talking to this boy, but, you can't know about it. Memorials have been placed for the girls. So, in response to requests from German's mother, however, across central Indiana have orange lights installed on their front porches, both in commemoration of the girls, as well as to indicate that the murder remains at large. Sorry, guys. The murderer remains at large. On August 2017, a family announced their plans to build a sports complex in Delphi in the memory of the girls. A non-profit organization, LNA Park Foundation, was formed to celebrate and commence the lives of Libby German and Abby Williams by creating a place for appearances to come. At site was pronounced a mile north of Delphi, and in the years following the girls' death, continues progress as they've been made in the development of Abby and Libby's Memorial Park. In 2020, the LNA Park Foundation was named as a recipient of the NBA All-Stars 2021 Legacy Grant. So, the murder of this young lady, or these two young ladies, still have gone unsolved. The reason why I'm doing murders that have not been solved yet is because a lot of these people just forget about them and just turn away and be like, there's nothing to worry about. I mean, it's not something to worry about. Well, there's families out there that still want to know who killed these young girls, especially their families. So if you have any questions, or not questions, but if you have any information on these two girls, maybe you were in the area or you heard somebody talking about them being murdered or whatever, you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-317-262-877. Oh, sorry. I'll put Crime Stoppers number in the description below. FBI 765-822-3535, or Delphi Homicide Tip Line at 844-459-5786. And I will put all these numbers in the bottom of the in the description below for anybody who needs the numbers to contact. Again, I did not write down the correct number to all these, so they may be different in the description. But if you have any information regarding Abby and Libby's disappearance, please get a hold of the local people that need the information. Maybe you saw something that day or you heard something about it. Please, 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 I can't specify enough. Please help these families bring justice to the people who killed their daughters. And again, thank you. And if you enjoy this content, please subscribe, like, and comment.